Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Music with a Twist. Now, today I have with me Dynamitri. So great to have you, and he's the founder of Drip.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate that. I am the founder of Drip, which is an online community for people in the music industry, social media, digital marketing, and also everyone who wants to level up and learn to know more. I've been working with social media for almost 20 years across a variety of roles in record labels, in publishing houses, with companies in the music industry, tech companies, also artists directly. I specialize in using social media with a purpose, so helping labels and artists to actually get money out of social media. I also specialize in building communities, cybersecurity on social media, auditing, but Drip for the past good half a year has been the core of my activity. It's an online community, over 200 people now. I'm very happy with how it grows, and everyone who's watching it is very welcome to join. I would love to have you there. There will be a link going out somewhere underneath this video. So yes, looking forward to having you and looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, great. So, how did Drip start? What is the inspiration behind it?
Yes, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. There have been a few reasons why I started the community, but one of them was to bring people together and create a
Hmm.
platform for people to stay up to date through the news that I find and that I share with people. I've always been the type of person who reads a lot and loves to share knowledge with people.
Okay.
I've been posting a lot on my socials, doing a lot of opinion pieces, a lot of commentary, but and this is maybe something we will touch upon more in our conversation. But things are changing with social media, and it gets harder to actually reach people. It's not as social as it used to be, despite the name. And a lot of activity is moving towards closed communities, whether it's broadcast channels on Instagram, Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups like the one that I run. So there was one of the reasons was to bring people together and allow them to stay up to date, but also to get to know each other amongst the community and to create an opportunity for people to network, to create amazing things. I've already heard there have been people who worked together, artists, producers, managers, they met each other at Drip. So there were a few ideas, core sort of reasons for me to launch it. But yeah, it was it was and is meant to be a platform for people
Hmm.
to give them opportunities.
Okay, cool. So I know for sure with me, I'm a part of a lot of, social media communities and communities as well. I've been to Europe recently and it was so strange. I was sitting at a network table, meeting with managers from different parts of Europe, and everyone just kept saying, "Oh, I'm a part of Emma. I'm a part of Emma. I'm a part
Oh,
of Emma." I'm like, "What is that?" And I, did my research and everything, but that's how we met across that platform.
yes.
So yeah, so I know that's basically one of the largest platforms or communities that is out there. But how did you find, that community was successful, at helping you pass along your information?
How I found Emma, or
No, how did you find communities successful, yes, like Emma, communities like Emma successful with your business, with you running Drip. How does that help you?
oh, okay. Well, Emma is for those who are watching us and who might not be aware, it's European Music Managers Association. I believe this is what the acronym stands for. It's an organization that unites music managers and music managers organizations throughout Europe.
Hmm.
So it's got members in the MMF, Music Managers Forum UK, MMF Netherlands, about at least half a dozen, if not more, organizations that I can't. I mean, there are different MMFs, actually, Music Managers Forums across different countries. However,
Hmm.
despite the name, they are not actually related. So they use the same name, but and I found this out quite recently myself, despite
Yeah,
being
me
with
too.
MMF UK for about 8 years, that it's Music Managers Forum. However, in about a dozen countries or so. However, technically, these are separate organizations. They are largely partnered up. So,
Hmm.
uh, they have members across different countries. For me, it is helpful in terms of being able to get people from those communities in my community, also with being up to date with what's happening in the music industry. Emma organize a lot of training sessions, a lot of events. Most of them, because of the nature of the organization, are online. Obviously, the community is very dispersed across different countries, different territories, so it's quite hard to get people physically in one place. But thanks to the technology, amongst other things, what we are doing right now,
Hmm.
it is
Yeah.
possible to get people to get people online and share the knowledge and create networking opportunities. So, I do try my best to attend as many training sessions as I can. This helps me to stay up to date in many aspects of the music industry, whether these are tools, platforms, new platform functionality. And some of that is what I'm able to utilize when then either doing my own training later on,
Hmm.
either in discussions, creating some guides that I create for members in my community. So basically, Emma for me is I would say it's bilateral or double pronged. One of that is obviously a fantastic platform to network with other people and to get to know people who I otherwise wouldn't have been able to get. And some of the members of Emma actually crossed over to my community, which I do really appreciate. Another thing is getting the opportunity to learn and stay up to date through the training sessions that they do with different partners, whether it's streaming platforms, marketing platforms, different tools that allow for airplay tracking, insights, all sorts, and that then allows me to again both implement this in the activity of my community or in my work with my clients. And again, some of the members of Drip will have ended up as my clients at some point.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, the reason why I asked you was you said something so intriguing. That social media
Okay.
isn't so social as it used to be. Do you mind explaining that for me, or is it a little bit too early to ask?
No, no, no. It's never too early and never too late.
Okay.
As the name implies, social media, right? It's supposed to be social,
Mhm.
and one of the traps that a lot of people, a lot of brands, a lot of artists were falling. And I've been seeing this come up over and over again, time and time again, is that they ended up broadcasting. It ended up being a one-way broadcast rather than conversation with people. And the general idea is that you try and engage in a constant, ongoing conversation, dialogue, two-way street, two-way conversation, rather than just sort of going out, pushing out some information. However, what's happening in recent months, especially, is that it's not as easily done as it used to be in the past, due to what's called algorithmic suppression. So what it
Mm-hmm.
means is that, and you have cases of artists, for example, having 10,000 followers, and they would have spent years of, 50,000 followers. They would have spent years actually gaining this following, and it can be a real following, nothing fake, nothing botted, and so on. But they will have this following of 50,000. They will post a reel, and this reel will get like 100 views, and it's
Mm,
and it's happening because, on one hand, there is an oversaturation and oversupply of content. Every second there are tons of videos being thrown at the social media
mhm,
platforms by creators, by users. The algorithms work in a way where they try to decide what to show to each and every person. Each and every person's feed is different,
mhm,
based on hundreds of factors. There is no way to, see everything due to the amount of the thing. But at the same time, um, the flip side to it is that social media platforms, they actually want people to pay for reach, because reach is a currency of its own.
mhm,
And reaching people is holds an intrinsic value. And this is one of the reasons why, for example, if you've got someone who's got million followers, um, quite often, brands or individuals, they will sell slots on the Instagram grid or TikTok grid or stories. If they've got a lot of people watching the stories, they will actually sell a slot, and they will be able to post your video on their profile, but they will charge a lot of money for that, because they know that, if they got a million followers and each story is viewed by, let's say, 500,000 people or more, and each reel is being viewed by 500,000 people, it can make or break somebody's career. So,
mm, mhm,
and a lot of people who don't have, this kind of following, but they've got still good following objectively, for an independent unsigned artist, 20, 50,000 people, they struggle with reach because of those different challenges that social media brings these
mm,
days in terms of reaching people. And again, this is part of why a lot of activities moving towards so-called closed spaces, i.e., communities, broadcast channels, Facebook groups, WhatsApp, the Telegram, Discord, number of others. But what those spaces allow is bypassing the sort of fight with the algorithm, and reaching people directly. Because first of all, whoever joins a closed community is already sort of more invested in terms of attention and commitment as a fan, as a follower.
mhm,
They pay more attention. The other part is that if you have someone in a WhatsApp group, they will get notified straight away. Obviously, they can mute the channel, and quite often, people will mute WhatsApp groups, for example, because they have, 20 WhatsApp groups, and they don't want to get pinged every 3 minutes. But they still get the message straight away. So even if they mute, and even if they don't check in the messages in real time, there is
mhm,
much higher chance that they will actually see the message than it would be in the case of you posting on a, Instagram profile with 20,000 followers, and then it only being able to hit 100 or 200 people because of how the algorithms work these days, unless you of course
mm.
pay. But a lot of people are not in a position to be able to pay each and every time they post. So
Yeah, that's crazy now.
yeah.
So, yeah, the entire time, while you were talking, three things screamed at me: influencers, virals, and algorithms. And how did the three of those, like, work together?
Um, right. They don't always work together, but they should work
Okay.
together. So, you know, uh, yeah, influencers. In influencers, obviously, you've got different types of influencers, and there is a lot of actually uh, sort of pivot, as for the want of the better word, towards micro influencers from many brands or artists. So rather than working with one big influencer with like 1 million followers, for example, they would be working with, a dozen or more of so-called micro influencers. So people who might have, 1,000 followers or, 2,000 followers. And that way they can sort of hit more people rather and across more influencers. Viral videos are a interesting, very interesting thing. I've actually spent some time working in an agency years ago that specializes in creating viral videos, and this is something that I'm
Oh, okay.
personally very interested in because there is a whole science to making viral videos, and what
Mm,
happens rather often I see is that artists, for example, I will say artists because we're talking in the music industry context, so I'm not going to say brands or anything of sorts. But they will create a video, and objectively, it might be good video. It might be
mm-hmm.
technically well done. It might be nicely shot and so on. And then they will post it, and they will hope that it will go viral. And
Yeah.
and and the reality is that there is actually a whole science to what makes videos, what makes content go viral. And it's a lot about editing, a lot about the topics. For example, if you tap into the
Hmm.
recent news, it's not something that I personally sort of support on this particular occasion. But while we are talking, it's been a few days since that whole thing happened with the Coldplay concert. With
Yeah.
the CEO who was caught probably having an extramarital affair, but which was
Mm-hmm.
obviously very
It's funny.
unfortunate. But yeah, but
Poor
but
thing.
what I'm yeah, but what I'm getting at is that I've seen a lot of pieces of content that are piggybacking of that, and a lot of those
Yeah.
pieces of content go viral. And one of the
Yeah.
reasons why they go viral is because they are relevant to to the news cycle. They are relevant to what people talk about between themselves. In the office, at the water cooler, or at the lunch break. It is sort of topic of online and offline conversations. And one of the angles that helps with making things go viral is tapping into what people are actually talking about and tapping into the current news cycle and being able to find an angle to put a spin on a meme or what's happening, and being able to take it and utilize it in some way. So having this ability uh to break down the viral content and how to structure the content and how to create it around certain topics, relatability, relevance, emotional triggers. Those things help with making content go viral ultimately. You can't say that 100% it will go viral because you can't ever be sure 100%, but you can really get into the 90 plus, I would say. And I've done it, time and time again. It is just it is science. Honestly, it is science. It's not easy, but if you do it the right way, you can really almost make sure that it will go viral. And the algorithms, obviously, they are they are friend and a foe at the same time of every social media manager and every artist and every creator. Sorry, they change a lot. They and they change the whole time. And it's something that's really fascinating to me personally because um even the viral things that I've done at the
Yeah.
agency, which was 8 years ago now, 2017. What I've done at the agency and what went viral 8 years ago probably wouldn't go viral today anymore.
Yeah.
Purely
That's true.
because, again, the trends change, the algorithms change, what people enjoy watching and what makes people, engage with the content changes. And there were certain things that worked back then, but they wouldn't work today, at least in the same format, because, for example, the videos were longer back then. They were primarily focused on Facebook. The layout of the videos that we had, the format of the videos, was sort of worked back then. But if you look at this today, it looks very outdated. You would
Yeah.
have to probably, recut the videos, obviously do them in the portrait mode rather than landscape that, as we've done it back then, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things change. And again, it's sort of a game of a whack-a-mole, where you just try and always be at a uh, 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 try and keep up with the algorithms and what they are looking for, what platforms are looking for. And yeah, it's an ongoing challenge. But again, I find it myself very fascinating and rewarding when things actually work.
Yeah, so strange. I literally took my time out. It was a tragic event, but I took my time
Uh-huh.
out to actually, listen to Coldplay music after
Oh,
everything just like popped up and went viral. So I can, say that it actually works, right? In my
yeah,
instance, the case, yeah. And I know on, other occasions it has worked, for other artists as well, and brands as well too, so
yeah,
yeah, that was a really good way of looking at it. I didn't even look at all it being like a science. It's just like a one hit or miss. You're like taking a chance and you're hoping
yeah,
that it's gonna make viral.
yeah. It
Yeah.
it is, and there are even like white papers or books written about
Mhm.
creating viral content, creating viral concepts, because it's not only about online content, but there is whole
Mhm.
aspect of virality to, for example, restaurants, or some, and I know that I think it was somewhere in New York. I read a book, and they were talking about some sort of a restaurant somewhere in New York. I think it was a hot dog restaurant, but basically
Yeah.
you had to go somewhere, and you had to pick up the phone. You had to ask whether, sorry, they would ask you whether you have a reservation. You had to say that you don't have a reservation. They would tell you that you're lucky because there's still a free spot. Then the wall would sort of like push itself in, and it would reveal a hidden entrance in the wall, to
Wow.
a restaurant. And and they wouldn't advertise it anywhere. It was just like a word of mouth, but it was such a cool
Mhm.
concept that friends started telling about this, started talking about this amongst themselves, and through the word of mouth, they actually became a massive success. And
Wow. Okay.
and yeah, and it's about, again, creating experiences, creating something unique. I work with an artist who creates unique renditions. He's a sort of 1950s, 1960s a big band and jazz singer, and he creates his own renditions of Disney musical songs, but he completely rearranges them and makes like crazy big band, jazz arrangements out of like Beauty and the Beast songs, Jungle Book, all the kind of stuff. And not many
Mhm.
people do this, and people love his renditions, and like, and he
Okay.
managed to start a new Instagram account and go from like zero to over 10,000 organically in 3 months, purely based off,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, a few videos that had like 500,000 in like a couple of days, crazy numbers,
Wow.
and again, it's being able to put that unique stamp, and
Mhm.
having this something that sets you apart from anything or everything and everyone else, and gets people to talk about each other. I can't remember the exact numbers, and the study would have been from about 10 years ago anyway, and it probably would have changed towards more online, but surprisingly enough, still quite a lot of word of mouth is happening offline. People,
Mhm.
people talk online, they tag their friends, they send each other links and so on, But a lot of conversations are still happening, between coworkers, between friends when they go out, that kind of stuff. So ability to get people to talk is another sort of helpful aspect of making things go viral.
Yeah, the whole time, while you were talking, my mind went on, we spoke about you being so multifaceted by using a lot of or having a lot of artists that are across, different genres.
Mm.
And before I talk a little bit about how do you assist artists with your platform a little bit more, I just wanted to know, in your own opinion, what's the difference between going like viral and trending? Like, what's the difference? Is it like the same thing, or can you interchange the words? Are you saying, "Oh, I'm trending," or I'm viral? Like how does it go together?
Uh, well, that's a really good question. I would say, in my, sort of being a social media manager, for me, trending would probably imply being picked up by a particular platform in a trending section, which
Mm,
happens on some of the platforms. I believe it's still. I would have to double check. I say openly, I haven't used X for quite a while because of
mm,
different things that are happening with the platform, and a lot of people have dropped it. I sort of pivoted towards Threads myself, but you had this section of trending hashtags, whatever on X. So for me it would be more, trending would be more within the ecosystem of a particular platform that picks up on trending
mm-hmm,
things on this particular platform. Virality is more, I would say, holistic, more cross platform. If you go viral, you go viral on TikTok and Instagram, and if you're viral, you probably end up on, the Jimmy Kimmel and, all those like late night shows. You get interviewed because they do, interview a lot of people who get internet famous, all the kind of stuff. So for me, virality is more, yeah, it's more cross-platform and perhaps even cross-media. So it doesn't even have to
mm,
be, limited to social media
yeah.
itself. It's probably, across different mediums, and then it also results in, again, TV coverage, late night shows, interviews, performances, newspaper articles, all the kind of stuff, rather than just, being picked up on by any particular platform. And again, virality, I think, also tends to last a little bit longer because trending things tend to be quite
Mm-hmm.
ephemeral. They can be quite elusive. Something can be trending one day, and then,
Mm-hmm.
usually it would be gone by the next day, if not by, 12 hours later. Viral things, they usually, I would say, last at least a few days, if not a few weeks, before they start going off the radar. Sometimes it can be even, a couple months, but I think there is more sort of longevity in virality than it is in things trending.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a pretty, interesting thing, because it like goes beyond social media, right? I've been studying
Yeah,
a lot on, the cross, like you said, cross mediums and understanding how everything all ties in, it's not just social media, it's, media at large, and,
yeah.
how everything just interconnects with, being so successful as an artist. And I just wanted to know, with your experience, how can you assist artists, with growth strategies and actually growing their career? Or how have you done it, in the past?
Um, each and every artist is different, and
Mm-hmm.
there are no, there is no copy paste, so to speak. So I always look
Mm-hmm.
into who the artist is, um, what is the personality, what do they feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with. Um, what do they enjoy doing? Because, from my perspective, one of the worst things to do is to get an artist to do something just
Mhm.
because it is, again, trending or it's viral. And you
Mhm.
sometimes, when you look at some artists, you can actually see that they are doing something, I don't know, a challenge or a
Yeah.
dance or whatever. And you can see that they are
Yeah.
so not into this, but they are still doing this because they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'll probably get, 1 million views or whatever. And I'm like, only do what you feel comfortable doing. And I do feel that there are always ways to put a spin on whatever trend or a challenge or uh, viral thing there is going, but the artists they have to be comfortable with this, and it has to be something they will enjoy doing. So I always find ways to find the things that the artist can do that
Mhm.
they would enjoy, that they would feel comfortable with, and that would be coherent with the overall branding. Because again, it has to be part of the identity, it has to be part of the branding. There's
Mhm.
no point in doing something that is totally off brand and that they would, feel out of, they would be comfortable with, not mentioning something that might just completely, damage the brand. Because there are things
Mhm.
that, there are things that some people might do that will be so off brand that will actually sort of even question the image that they've cultivated up until that point. And again, it's not an easy task because a lot of artists, and I obviously understand this, having been an artist myself for some time before I switched sides to the so-called dark side of marketing. But they want to focus on making music. They want to focus on being in a studio, on writing songs, on playing live, and so on.
Mhm.
But the reality is that in this day and age, artists have to think of themselves as an entrepreneurs, and that's part of actually being successful in the music industry. Obviously, there is another avenue, and you can disregard social media, you can disregard all the sort of recommendations of the activity that you need to do in order to stay successful, which involves a lot of social media, digital, and so on, content
Mhm.
creation. uh, However, this ultimately means that you're a hobbyist musician, I'm not saying that it's something inherently wrong, because
Mhm.
if somebody wants to be a hobbyist musician, then fair enough. And there are people who enjoy going and working 9 to 5, and then playing once every few weeks and having this rock star, pop star identity that almost
Yeah.
like like they are, they put on a Superman costume, or a Batman costume, for a night, and they just transform
Yeah.
into a superhero. But if someone wants to have a viable career in the music industry in this day and age, there are certain requirements. And part of that is, for example, having social media and actually showing up and building the community, first building the following, building the community, having this consistency. Consistency is one of the key sort of parts of building up. And it's very unlikely that if somebody is consistent and does things the right way, that they won't see progress in their career. But again,
Mhm.
it is about having this consistency, and it's not consistency of 1 month or 3 months. It can be a year of posting every day or every second day,
Mhm.
uh, maybe even longer. But it it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So from my side, I help out with establishing social media. I help out with understanding social media, how it works, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. I help with establishing revenue streams. So making sure that the social media is done with a purpose and that there is a return of the investment made. And by saying investment, I do not only mean investment in the financial terms, but and
Mhm.
sense, but also investment of time, effort, So making sure that it actually pays back in financial terms, and there is money to be made out of social media or digital platforms. By saying digital platforms, again, I do not necessarily mean Spotify, because the
Mhm.
reality is that at this point, it is about 1 million streams every month to clear out about 2000 $2,500 every month in a best case scenario.
Wow.
And the
Wow.
base case, and the base case scenario is where the artist is the sole writer, sole composer. There are no co-writes, no splits, no middle parties, and so on. As soon as you
Mhm.
add multiple writers, and so on, then the money gets split, and all of a sudden it becomes, $200 if you've got like numerous writers and composers and so on. So, I try and dissuade artists and managers from focusing on Spotify or streaming in general, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, some platforms pay better, some platforms pay worse,
Mhm.
but it's still peanuts. You might find a
Yeah.
bigger peanut amongst all those peanuts, but it's still a
Yeah.
peanut. So
Yeah.
it's as I say. So there are other platforms and other ways to actually make more money. As an example, 100 hours spent on pushing Spotify, whether it's pushing Spotify via social media content or whether it's pushing Spotify via pitching to
Mhm.
playlisters. 100 hours is not going to make a whole lot of difference. There's no way it's going to take someone from, 1,000 to a million followers, sorry, a million streams monthly.
Mhm.
But the same 100 hours, if you put those 100 hours into streaming twice a week for an hour across a year, you
Mhm.
will and you tie this into donations, selling merch, and so on. Because on many platforms you can embed links. You can have like text on your videos and so on, that actually encourages people while you're streaming to go and buy and so on, like on the shopping TV channels essentially. And if you do this, then
Mhm.
100% you will get way more money than you would if you spend those 100 hours on just pitching Spotify, and probably getting like $100 out of that in the end, because this is the
Wow.
money sort of, yeah, you get out of Spotify. Yeah, so
Yeah.
different ways. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow. You schooled me a little bit just now. I didn't know that myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I'm around for. So, if you ever need
Yeah.
anything, give me a shout.
I definitely will.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
you're a pretty cool person.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
Yeah, yeah. So, as we get ready to wrap up, how can my listeners get in contact with you or reach out with you? How is that possible?
Yes. So one of the ways is obviously the drip community, which
Mhm.
is Dynamitri, my name, .com / drip, DRIP, either lowercase or uppercase, both work. This will take everyone to the WhatsApp invitation, where they can join
Mhm.
via mobile app or desktop app. Drip for now is mostly WhatsApp based. I'm looking at expanding it to other platforms, but for now it's WhatsApp. If I will expand it to other platforms, the WhatsApp will be the place where I will be announcing it. So everyone's very much very welcome to join. They can also get in touch with me by emailing me at hello@dynamitri.com, or let's work as one word without apostrophe at dynamitri.com. These are my email addresses. Or on LinkedIn, they can look me up. I'm the only Dynamitri, not only on LinkedIn, but they can also just go to linkedin.com / IN, I for India, N for November, /Dynamitri. These are the main ways I would say and best ways to get in touch with me.
Okay, cool. The cool. Dynamitri is your branding name.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. I know when I first met you, you were really strong on branding, and
Thank you. I
that was your,
appreciate it. Yes,
yeah,
I try to do my best.
yeah. Yeah, well, it was a pleasure to have you on my podcast today. I know that I've learned quite a bit, and I'm sure that my listening audience will as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, really appreciate it. It's been an absolute blast and a real
Yes,
pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
yes, no problem. And I did as well. You take care now.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.